Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Hey, pod friends. So in today's episode, I interviewed Tammi Janel. Tammi is an animal communicator, intuitive healer, and entrepreneur totally obsessed with inspiring you to connect deeply. She is dedicated to helping you transform your connection to soulful relationships with yourself, your animals, and your land. She's been working in the healing arts for over 30 years and has a profound understanding of the consequences of being disconnected from ourselves and its impact on our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. She founded a progressive healing arts center in 1999, a retreat center with a 10-acre healing forest in 2004, followed by a holistic pet wellness store and animal communication consultancy in 2009. Most recently, she developed a unique 7-step method for soul-led living she calls the Devoted Soul Method, where she offers immersive group retreats and individual coaching. Next on her list, guys, is she's going to expand her one-on-one teaching practice to steward in what she calls the unspoken language to a wider online audience. So stay tuned for that with her, guys. What do we talk about today? Well, what you need to know is this is one of a 2-part series. So today I interviewed Tammi, and she tells us her spiritual journey story, which includes a big medical diagnosis, which helped her uncover childhood trauma that she had suppressed. And all of this led her into psychedelic-assisted therapy. And so that's kind of where we're going with this. We talk about different psychedelic-assisted therapies and how psilocybin ended up really helping her. Okay? And we aren't talking about psilocybin in a recreational manner today. We're talking about its therapeutic benefits as part of a healing journey. Okay? So right before we recorded, I had a soul reading with her. And it was amazing. We talk about it in the episode. So we talk about what that's all about. We talk about all, you know me, we go all over the place. We talk about a bunch of really cool stuff. So also we talk about my reading, but I want you to, when you get done with this episode this week, listen to our bonus content because I actually talk more about my soul reading session and I play some clips from it so you can get an idea what this session is like because we all wonder, what are you talking about? What does she say to you? What do you have to say back? I want you to get rid of all the nerves. So I'm like your guinea pig. I'm going to let you hear some of the things she said to me and give you some insights into how this reading helped me because it really did help me, you guys. So we talk about that. Listen for the bonus episode. And then next week, you guys drop for part 2, where we bring in her partner, Ange, who we dig much deeper into this psilocybin journey thing, okay? We talk more about the differences between the different plant journeys, kind of the science behind it. We just dig in much deeper in part 2. So stay tuned for that, right? That drops next week. But for today, let's jump in because you're going to love hearing all this stuff Tammi and I talked about today. Okay, let's do this. Hey, Tammi, thanks for having me today. This is awesome. You guys, I'm recording remote. I'm at Tammy's little studio here. It's beautiful and serene. Thanks for having me into your space. And just for reference, I just had a session, a couple hours I've already spent with Tammi, digging into my stuff, you guys. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I think I might even put a bonus episode that drops with this one. So you guys can peek in a little bit and hear some of the things. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you guys everything because that's personal. This is my journey, guys. I'm going to let this integrate. I'm going to talk more about it for the bonus episode. So Tammi, we got to talk about your spiritual journey story. We're going to start there because we've talked a lot about me the last couple hours. So we got to get into Tammi here. Go back as far as you want to start. I mean, you don't have to start with the day you were born unless it's pertinent, but what's led you to where you are today?
Well, I think it does start when I was born because as I have done my work, I have recovered some information about the very early days of my infancy. And, you only have that clarity as you're doing your work,
Right. How young are we talking? So you uncovered some memories from like crib age. Are we talking crib age here? Okay.
Diapers.
Diapers. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of always felt, so I'm 52. I'm almost 53. So for a very long time, I felt that something was just a little off,
Mm-hmm.
and living a great life, doing all the things that were supposed to be really great, doing everything for myself. I don't want to give away too much, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Like
I
really
do.
similar
Yes.
experience.
Yes. We're talking childhood trauma here. And I've
Yeah.
talked about it on the show before. You guys know that I have some childhood trauma that I've really had to work through.
Yeah.
And so,
And so that is the feeling, right? It's this feeling of you're doing life good. You're doing things pretty good. And also there's some things that are missing. And so through my young adult life, got married, did all the things, and then started my own healing journey probably when I was 20, like really diving deep. So I've been doing it for quite a while, over 2 decades of deep work.
oh, yeah.
But most recently started working with some psychedelics.
Okay.
And that truly opened the door.
Yeah. So what had you tried before that, though? When you're saying I've been doing the work for 20 years, was it traditional therapy? Had you already been in a spiritual place where you were doing meditation, prayer? What are we talking about 20 years of?
Yeah. So I actually just started dabbling in tarot cards
Okay.
when I
Yeah.
was like 19
Okay.
or 20. And I would do readings for friends, and I was just having fun with it. But I grew up in a family, not specifically my mom and dad, but my uncle, actually, both of my uncles were very much into meditation. And I grew up with, vegetarianism and Buddhist type
Okay.
of
So you have a
things.
background. Yeah.
So I was familiar with those types of things. And so, yes, started doing meditation and all of those type of healing modalities. So eventually, when I was probably about 25, I opened a healing arts center. And so we did, there was a group of us, and I was doing readings for people. And I had an acupuncturist and I had a massage therapist. But I was very young.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of, fumbling along that path. But every single thing that I came into contact with, similar story to what you said earlier, really resonated with that. Like, you're like a kid in a candy store. You're like, I want to do more. I want to learn more. I want to
Yeah.
just
All the
start.
things.
Oh, yeah,
All of a
real yum,
sudden, I
yum,
just
yum,
want to know
yum,
all the
yum.
things.
Yeah. So, I mean, you probably name it. I've probably,
Dabbled in.
it, tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the psychedelic work for my own personal healing was really pretty potent.
Okay.
Pretty potent. Yeah.
Because you knew something was still being suppressed in your body. You still felt something was off, but you didn't know exactly what that was yet.
I really had no idea. I actually went in because I was diagnosed with a very large tumor, and I wanted to understand what that tumor was, why it was in my body. Because of my background, mind-body connection was a thing.
Oh, yeah. That wasn't new
And
to you.
I knew that if I just went and had surgery, that the energy behind that tumor would still be there. And so my approach was I need to figure out what's the energy behind this physical manifestation in my body so that I can make some corrections for myself. And that is what I stepped into the medicine for. And as time went on, then I started kind of peeling back more about why I live with so much fear in my body. I'm not a person who's afraid at all, but I could feel something holding me back, containing me. And that's when I went into a medicine session actually with the inquiry, what is this fear? I want to understand this fear. And that's when those memories came to me in that session. And from that moment forward, yeah, life's been pretty different.
How long ago was that?
It was about 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay. So midlife, this wasn't something you figured out early. Halfway to dead, man, and we're figuring shit out. Okay. Oh, Lord. Okay. So you got a lot of help from the psychedelics. That's
I
what I'm
did.
hearing, from
Yep.
plant medicine. And so which one specifically are we talking here? Tell us a little bit, because I'm new to this whole plant medicine trip thing. I'm totally into hearing about it and loving it. I have not done it yet, but I'm open to it. So I want everyone else listening who's maybe like, this could be for me. I got some trauma. What modalities are we talking about?
So we first started working with, which isn't technically a plant medicine, but it's a psychedelic, is MDMA.
Okay. Yep.
Psychedelic-assisted therapy. And then we've really moved toward only working with plant medicine and specifically psilocybin.
Psilocybin. Okay. Explain what psilocybin is.
It's a mushroom.
It's a mushroom.
Magic mushroom.
The old magic shrooms. Because there are all different versions of mushrooms. Some are not psychedelic as the others. Okay. So psilocybin is psychedelic. And so are you eating this mushroom? Tell me exactly how you're getting this in your body.
What we had done is it is grown and then it is dried and then it is ground. And so we take it in a pill form.
So you're regulating exactly how much you're getting. You're not just grabbing into a bag of mushrooms and willy-nilly in it. You guys, that's not what this is about. You guys have figured out what dosing. Is it low and slow, like cannabis or anything else?
I think that actually we found that these very small doses, less than 1 gram, are really potent experiences. If you're going in with that intention behind it, and you're not, you're doing it in a guided setting, you're not doing it with other substances. In other words, a lot of people who are doing it recreationally are also doing it while they're drinking alcohol.
That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about therapeutically using it to dive in and get some stuff done.
Correct.
Okay.
With intention.
With intention and with guidance.
With guidance and with a plan of integrating what you've discovered. Because the way I describe it, so you just experienced a reading with me. That is the language of soul. Okay, which comes in, images and pictures and feelings, and you have to discern it. You have to,
because you're connecting with me,
your soul,
my soul.
Right.
Okay, so
it's a language of its own.
Okay,
and I do say that these spaces that you go into with the psychedelics is that language, and so if you go in. And you need to come back out of that then knowing that you've gathered all of this really cool information. You've seen images that are probably very strange.
Right.
You've had experiences that you're not really totally understanding. It's a little weird. But to recognize that that is actually soul's language, you're connecting to a totally different language. That's why integration afterwards is so massively important. Because someone like myself who... I've been doing these readings that you experienced today for over 30 years. I know the language well. So for me to go in and have an experience, sometimes I'm integrating it while I'm in it because I'm getting it. But a lot of people, we call these our medicine students, and we teach them this work to decipher soul's language. But a lot of these students, they don't come in, no one's doing readings, they don't know that language. Yeah. But that's what you are doing when you're going into these spaces, is you're experiencing soul's language. So the integration after a session is to take all these images, all these pictures, all these experiences, and make sense of it for yourself in this time and space.
Yes. Because is the experience like a meditation, but so much deeper? Because I have visions and things during my meditations, right? That afterwards I have to think about and kind of interpret, like, what's going on with that spirit animal? Or why did we do that? Right? So is it unlocking your subconscious, unconscious a little bit more? It's helping you drop down pretty deep, I would think.
Drop down pretty deep and also connect in to the universal language. Drop down, when you say drop down, I think dropping down into my subconscious,
yes.
Into the like we were talking about earlier, like into the connective tissue, like yes. What's inside of that.
Yeah.
Exploring the caves and the caverns. But a lot of people's medicine work too, after there's a lot of deep exploration in the caves and the caverns, have these really beautiful, more universal experiences for themselves.
Okay. Like, tell me about one, just so people listening understand what you mean by experiences that you could have. What would be a good example of an experience that one might have when they're doing the old psilocybin?
Mm-hmm. One of our most recent sessions, we the person doing the medicine, was in there exploring and discovering some deeper stuff that was, inside of her own tissue, like very on the ground types of things, but ended up coming out of that session with this really beautiful concept that she discovered while she was in there, applicable to her own life, but really also a very collective
instruction for us.
collective instruction.
Okay.
And I don't know what her actual experience was, but what she came out with was this really gorgeous, it's a concept around your own inner masculine, the feminine, the child, the mother, and had all this really beautiful drawings. And it really informed her own life, but it also informed me. It was beautiful. So that's what I'm saying, like these bigger universal concepts or bigger universal understandings of how to navigate the very earthly experiences that we have that are frustrating and, crazy and all the things that occur to us on a daily basis. And so how to manage some of those things that are going on in our own life with a bigger picture mentality.
Okay. So there's big picture stuff coming through, and also things just, if someone's just like, I need to heal, does it open things up so you can get a more clear picture of what you've been through?
I think for myself, even one of the things that really affected me growing up was my dad passed away when I was about 20.
Okay.
And it happened quickly because he held his illness in secret for 5 years before he passed away. So I only learned of this 5 weeks before he died. And a lot of things came with that, and I struggled with that in a massive way. And in my initial sessions of medicine work, at a very personal level, came to some really important reconciliations. And you can say, well, whether he really showed up, or I was in that space having all of these really beautiful moments of reconciling with him and him apologizing and feeling so much love and feeling his regret, feeling why did he do what he did, like a lot of understanding. And in soul's way, sometimes it was just, I'm so sorry that I died when you were so young, versus images and pictures that help us work out and experience the alchemy inside of the psychedelic space, like being around a fire with him and with parts of myself that were very hurt, little parts of myself that have been trapped inside of me, still longing for whatever he took away when he died, right? So there's a lot of alchemy that can happen too in that psychedelic space.
Is it common for past loved ones to appear in those visions? If that's something we're needing, they'll be there. Okay. So yeah, and you can debate on if you were really connecting with him, or if it doesn't really matter because it's healing either way, right? I mean, we don't need to debate that really.
We don't need to debate that. And that was actually my partner, one of her medicine sessions, really, she came out having experienced this whole past life. Like her whole medicine session was a past life.
Obviously. Okay.
And came out and said the line between what is real and what is just an imagination is very, very thin. And don't question it. Just don't question it. That is the language you're being given, and to really embrace the lessons and the learnings from it.
Because there's even neuroscience studies showing that our body and brains don't know reality from not when we're in visualization anyway. So you're healing whether you believe that person's really there with you. It doesn't matter. Our bodies and our minds, we believe it. It's real. So it's going to have the same really beneficial effect. What kind of mindset do we need to be in if we're thinking about it? If we're like myself, if I'm like, no, I want to do this. This sounds like something weird. Is there a mindset or a place we need to be in before we jump? Because you don't just jump into this stuff.
No, I mean, no. What we do is we require, at least 3 sessions of preparation to enter a space. And we really cultivate an intention going in, an intention with flexibility. You can have an intention going in, but flexibility without an expectation of what that actually looks like. So
So 3 sessions with no psilocybin at all. Just let's talk this through. Let's see what you need.
Yeah, we do some therapeutic work,
Yeah.
internal family systems. We use that model of therapy to work with parts of ourselves because that usually comes up in these psychedelic spaces. And then also, we typically always have everyone start with a soul reading. And what that does is it clears like the path toward the medicine.
Okay. Yep.
It illuminates things that either need to come into the light or move things off of the path that aren't as important as potentially the person thinks to get to the deeper elements of the work.
Okay. And then after those 3 sessions, then we're ready to dive in. And so what does that look like?
Yeah. So I'll just speak for myself and just arriving with comfortable clothes on and all of the like logistical things, like making sure that everything is tended to in your normal life that won't distract you for the day, all of that kind of thing. And then we move into sort of this statement of what your intention is, and we do some sage clearing, and it's a really beautiful sacred experience. It's considered a sacred ceremony entering into the space. And you have a playlist that we use. We have people in headphones and eye shades, and then we rock and roll. You take your medicine.
Because how long does it take to kick in?
Maybe about 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
you're just kind of restating your intentions and connecting with the sacredness of the day and all the things you're doing.
And it's a safe way to go about this too, because you're with people who know what they're doing. You know what I mean? I don't want to just do some shrooms at home and shit hits the fan. I don't know what's like. No, that sounds like a terrible idea. So my thought is, that's a terrible idea. You guys don't do that. Don't just, if someone offers you a bag of mushrooms, bring them home. No. Okay. So you need to have someone who knows what they're doing, knows how to integrate you if you start freaking out or something feels off, someone that can be there with you, right? To help you through. That's very important for these. It's what I've heard. Like I said, I haven't done it yet, but this is what I've heard. Okay. And I want to talk more about this because people hear the word intention a lot. What's your intention? Set your intention. We go with the intention. Explain that a little bit, because people newer in their spiritual journey that might not even have a full understanding of what that means. How do I figure out what my intention is? Are you talking like specific? It gives an idea of what an intention that someone might set before these sessions would be.
Well, for example, mine, which I already spoke about, which was what is the energy behind this physical tumor that I have in my body? I want to understand that. I want to learn about that. We've had people come in with this and really a beautiful concept of how I want to understand how to integrate my feminine aspect and my male aspect. But she had a repressed memory of being raped at the age of 5. And her whole entire world that she built and created is now being questioned because she built it and created it from that wounded place.
From that place of pain.
And so in her journey through her work, the medicine has been a way for her to look back on the past. That was her intention going in. I want to understand the life I've built from this wounded place, sit in the present moment with what that looks like, pay homage to my life as it is right now because it came from that place. And then what does it look like now to turn toward living from a very whole place? And how does that look for me now? What are the possibilities of my life now? Being healed and or at least still on the healing journey. So that's been her intention the whole time.
So an intention could be very specific or not. Is that right? Like it could be, I want to figure out how I ended up on this path I'm on. How did I get here? How do I get off it? I don't know. Are these all intentions? Okay.
You got it. I think each person has their own very unique spin on what an intention looks like. And if it feels too broad or too vague, that's what the preparation work is about.
Okay.
By the time they're done preparing, it's shifted quite a bit
as to what their real intention is. So so it sounds like that pre-work is real important. Okay.
For sure.
All right, you guys, I'm always telling everybody we got a lot of work to do sometimes in these spiritual journeys. So this is part of it.
Yeah, I also say that we've had people come to us who believe that they want to do sacred medicine, but just even through the preparation work, they find such peace that they don't actually ever do it.
Need it.
We've had people who say, I feel like I'm good right now, and then come back in a year and say, okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
You
Okay.
know? So the preparation is massively important because sometimes it just clears a path for you to continue moving forward until then it calls you again.
Yeah. And some may feel like, well, I've already been doing a lot of work on my spiritual journey, but it's still necessary to do the preparation work with the person who's going to be on this journey with you, right? I mean, if someone's going to call you and be like, no, I've done a lot of work, I'm ready, let's just schedule it. No,
We don't.
you aren't doing that. No.
There might be people out there, guides, that
Probably shouldn't though.
but we are not, we have such reverence for the work that we've created a pretty rigorous protocol, and we feel really, really good about that. And if somebody doesn't want to embark on that particular protocol, that's okay, but that's for sure. We really highly encourage it.
So have you ever done the ayahuasca? No, because I hear stories about that where people are vomiting, shitting their pants. I don't know. Tammy, I just wanted to spell, is this something we need to worry about with the psilocybin? Side effect wise, I guess I'm saying during a session or after, what can we expect?
One of the women I'm talking about who's done a lot of work with us actually did ayahuasca in Costa Rica. And we met her because she wanted to prepare in a really intentional way. And then after the Costa Rican experience, be able to come home and continue to integrate.
Okay.
So she would be a really great person to talk about that. And she would call that purging, vomiting,
Well,
all the
that's
things.
some purging. Yes.
With psilocybin, it's pretty typical to get a little something in your belly, but we've never had anybody purge in that way.
Okay. So some rumbles, but everything's not coming out.
No.
Okay.
Everything's not coming out. Just in your experience, things are coming out,
Okay.
but not in your actual physical body.
And how long does the psilocybin last?
Depending on, your dosage, you could go anywhere from 3 hours to 8 hours.
Yep. So it's a full day thing. And then do you feel anything once it's worn off, or is there any after effects, or the next day? Is everything just kind of, other than emotionally, what you're going to feel?
Honestly, the reason why we've trended toward only using psilocybin is because when the medicine is done, you are very present and you're pretty much back in the world and on your feet very quickly, which is a wonderful thing. You cannot say that about MDMA because of its serotonin disruption.
Okay. Yeah.
The psilocybin does not. And so it feels a lot safer, in terms of that, even that emotional stability. We've had very good outcomes in that way.
So if we're going to do it on a Tuesday, do we need to take Wednesday off work?
It would be great.
It's probably a real good idea.
Encourage people to
not
do
because
that.
you're sick in bed, but just because you're going to need a minute to
sick.
absorb. You're going to need you're not going to be sick, but you're probably going to need a minute to absorb everything that your mind has just come forward with.
You don't have to take the following day off, but it's always really a nice. We
nice
do encourage people
to have a little buffer day, before you head back into the real world.
It's a sacred experience, It's a sacred ceremony. You're going in with it. It's just a sacred experience. And so even that next day to be with yourself in such a sacred way.
Yeah. Because and you keep saying the word integration. What exactly are you saying when it means you need to have good integration after this?
What that means is you've had, say you've had an 8-hour journey, all of these experiences inside of the sacred medicine session. You need to, on a regular basis, we call that active integration, and take the time to remember the story that you were told inside that sacred space. And how then does that story become part of your daily life? How does that story from the sacred medicine apply to you in your daily life? And, to sit with that, to meditate with that, to integrate that. That is the whole point. Because there isn't really any point in going in and having this big experience and then just forgetting it ever happened.
Right. Yeah. You got to stay on it.
Because people will do that. People may do that. It becomes like nourishment for your soil.
Yeah.
How do I keep nourishing the seeds that I'm planting? Or how do I continue to move forward on my journey?
Right.
That work you did in the active session, each component of that work is intentionally woven through what you're going through in your life. And how does it matter? Why does it matter?
Because what we're talking about using psilocybin for today is for part of our spiritual journey, for healing, for opening up, not, oh, I would like to just have a psychedelic moment and watch the trees talk to me and see pretty rainbows. No, that's not what we're talking about here. This isn't recreational that we're talking about. This is with a very clear purpose in mind for it, right?
Having a recreational experience seems very overwhelming to me. It seems like an overwhelming experience.
I think that's part of the scary part of people when they're faced with, should I do this or not, or considering it, is the stigma of like, am I just going to be tripping out and no one's going to care? And I'm going to be addicted. I'm going to be like druggy. And it's, I'm not that person, right? I didn't even do cannabis until it was like legal. You know what I mean? I was a little stickler. But what I'm saying is I think that a lot of that stigma for middle-aged women, we were raised in the war on drugs, and there was an egg frying in a pan, and like we were all scared to death. Okay. Or I was, I'll just speak for myself. I was like, I'm not frying my brain like an egg. So it's dispelling some of that. We got to have a plan.
And I think for me, the tipping point, because before I started participating in the psychedelic medicine myself, I was sitting for people because the woman I work with, she brought this back to, our core group of people, some therapists and myself. And I was that person. I have to have really amazing evidence that this is important to healing work. And so I decided that I didn't want to step into that. But what changed my mind was I was watching another woman go through these sessions, and over time, I watched her connect dots in her life that blew me out of the water. I said, if she can do that, I'm in, because that blew my mind. I was like, I think I might want to try this. And I mean, I was nervous, trust me. Like I was like all the things.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I didn't want to poo in my pants and pee in the bed
and start vomiting and or start spouting off to strangers a bunch of crazy shit.
It's vulnerable.
It's very, but yes. So it's important
vulnerable.
you work with the right person. If this is something you guys feel like you want to do on your journey, you need to find someone in your area that's reputable. Do you have any insight for that? Are there some red flags? Is there something we should really be aware of as we're choosing someone to go on these journeys with us?
I mean, being massively comfortable with the person and being listened to, being heard. Are they preparing with you? Are they going to integrate with you? It's all of that.
It sounds like if they don't do any prep work, just come in and take mushrooms, that feels like a no to me, because you just explained how there's prep for it. You need to.
That feels like a no to me.
That feels like a no. And also, I think that's good, because if we're in the prep and we're not comfortable with that person, we just don't get to that point with them.
Right, because you're getting to know. I mean, we've had plenty of people who we don't know, and they're just strangers, right? And do we jive together?
Right.
Do we, do we feel, connected?
Because the experience isn't going to work well if that isn't there.
Correct.
If that's
you will never be able to.
You aren't going to be comfortable enough to go where you need to go. And it's not going to work.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because it's such vulnerable space. You really do have to be massively comfortable. Yeah. And I also would say we always have at least 2 guides sitting in a session. So it's never just the person doing the active session and 1 guide. There's always 2 of us no matter what, and sometimes 3.
Okay, so say more about this. So, all right, so we're in the room and there's a main person guiding the journey. Is that what you're saying? Like a main?
Well, that's really kind of a misnomer. We actually aren't always super comfortable calling ourselves guides.
Not guiding. Okay, so there's a main.
But that is a typical name for the work, or
just like a
sitter.
Main sitter there. So you're saying there's more than one person in the room. So that there's like a, I don't know what, a lead head coach. I don't know. What are we saying? There's someone there that's kind of really keeping an eye on things, and then some more sitter.
Really, the point of a sitter is to hold space for the person in the active session. So we're meditating. We're just holding space.
Because the person, let's just say it was me. I wouldn't necessarily be laying there like I'm taking a nap for 8 hours. I'm sitting up. I'm talking. I'm trying to understand. Are we having conversation, you and I? Are we, or am I just having
Sometimes.
conversations with myself in the corner?
Sometimes what typically would happen, I can speak from my own personal journey. You're out here, you're talking about your intention, then you put your headphones and your eye mask on,
Mm-hmm.
and then I lay down.
Yeah.
And then, and then you got to pee
Well,
about
yeah, we're
10
talking
times.
about a 3 to 8 hour thing here.
Right.
So,
And you're aware enough to know you have to go to the
well,
bathroom. So
yeah.
then you get up, you go to the bathroom, you go back down, you go back into your story that you're in your active session. Sometimes you come out because you want to process something. We've had people lay down for 8 hours and never say a word.
It's just all internal.
It's all internal.
And then did they remember it after for integration?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we've had people like I myself, I like to speak what I see is because that's my work. That's like a soul reading. So I'm tracking with it at the same time. And all in between, people coming in and out, wanting to capture something that they just experienced. Okay, can you write that down? We have another person who likes to just journal herself. So it's just, it is really truly what you
Okay. So it's
are
a team
moved.
effort.
It's a team effort, but also we do encourage that you stay inside as much as possible. We do know that there are people who are out there facilitating these psilocybin journeys where it's a little more outside, like potentially out in the environment. But what we're cultivating here is really an internal experience, and that's the deep healing work. Sometimes people will come out and say, I really want to just go sit outside, and we can do that. Curl up on the grass for an hour or something.
But for the most part, stay
For the most
in a
part,
confined type space.
what we've cultivated over the years for our holistic experience is staying inside and being with yourself.
Okay. All right. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm loving this journey thing. And hey, guys, listen, I've already done step 1 of 3 sessions. So let's talk about this.
have.
Let's talk about this. I mentioned at the beginning that I just had a soul, would you call it a soul reading? I feel
Yeah.
like I had kind of a combo of all the things you do. So you have different sessions. Is there a big difference between them if people are figuring stuff out?
Really, I think sometimes people come to me for more very specific things that they're working on. And depending on what I see when we go into the work, it can turn into more of they're having a call, they're having like a soulful souls knocking on their door.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they need to remember who they are so that they can move forward. It's so different each time. A traditional energetic wellness reading, I did your chakras. Part of the reason I did that is because you had mentioned wanting to connect to this authenticity. And also then you use the word blockages. What are the blockages? I need to be aware of some things that are holding me back, right? And so sometimes the chakra reading is a really nice way to bring an awareness to that very specific compartmentalized area of your life, because each of the chakras deal with or hold or translate the energy that fall into different categories in your life, right? So that helps kind of clear the path, move away.
Yes.
Blockages.
So, and make sure you listen to the bonus episode after this, because I'll have it in there after I've fully integrated this all through myself, everything we went through. But we did go through every single chakra, and it was not what you expect with each chakra. Like, you dig in there and you really get a feeling. Tell me this, because during the session, a lot of times you're like, okay, so what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what are you tapping into when you're doing these sessions, these soul readings, energetic readings?
I'm tapping into your higher self, your soul. I'm tapping into your physical space, tapping into thoughts, thought patterns, what's in your mind. So when you say, what am I tapping into?
Yeah, because I'm saying like
your energy. It's just
because
your
some people
energetic
are like,
space.
I'm connecting with your angels and getting information from them. I'm connecting with your spirit team. I'm getting information from them. I'm talking to your deceased loved one right now. I guess I'm saying, so people have clarity, because
from everywhere.
because I've heard people say, oh, I'm not going to get a reading. I don't really have that many people to come through for me from the other side, like past loved ones. Especially if you're younger, you haven't lost people yet. Readings aren't about that always, you guys. This is about tapping, and there's always someone waiting to talk and help you out, right? Your higher self, your own subconscious, your own
spirit team, your angels, whatever.
Yeah, I think it is exactly that. I think you hit the nail on the head with that, which is there is guidance. There is guidance for us. We are not doing this alone. And wherever that guidance comes from, whether it is, I've had it all. I've had people have like a guide come through, and I'm very aware this person is a guide. I've had people that have crossed over. Even for you today, this started happening a couple of years ago for me, where what I'm understanding was the information that I learned was somewhere along the way in your ancestral lineage, your blood went wrong a little bit. And we have continued to accumulate the contamination of that through the DNA. Someone who would come here is really, and you brought authenticity. What is the truth? That is where that person who comes in is, I don't know who she is. She's the keeper of, this beautiful information of where the lineage went wrong. And she can see beyond.
Yes, because you're saying
the paper trail,
so
right?
Explain what you just said about like somewhere our blood got tainted. What are you saying? Like physically in an ancestor, something went very wrong. They stored it in their body, and we've just kept it going.
Somewhere along the way, there was a massive trauma that occurred, and that fear, that shame, that guilt, all of those things became part of what was passed down that had nothing to do with the person who's even living those things. It's not even theirs to be living, but it's been passed down. So you and I, as 50-somethings, and all the people who are halfway to dead, have accumulated not just your own personal experiences with guilt or shame, but all the experiences that you don't even know about have been accumulated and accumulated and accumulated.
Because you had someone come through. What did I say? Someone? I don't know how to explain it, but who was like many, many great, 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 great grandmas. I mean, I don't even know how.
It was the great, 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 great grandma who was saying, I could see her.
Yes.
And
so like an ancestor, I've never met you guys, like a great, 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 great grandma who,
unless you were aware of someone in your lineage like that I explained.
Yeah, I didn't, but I don't know my lineage very far back. So, and it was like illness. There was just a lot going on that was stored. And so what you're saying is she came through to let me know some of these things, what some of this damage that's been done that I'm carrying. And so what we talked about too was the fact that sometimes just gaining that knowledge, this is why these readings can be helpful. Gaining that knowledge helps you see more clearly, helps you heal. It sounds weird to say clean the blood, but you're going to purify that so that you're actually doing this and helping out all the generations to come after you.
And in your own healing, you really are healing
backwards and forwards.
Yes, exactly. You really are. And I said this too in the reading. We really do spend, it's my own personal opinion, we spend far too much time, our ancestral lineage, the crap from our own childhoods, all of that. We spend a lot of time, we spend the majority of our life
thinking about that. Yeah.
Sometimes people spend their whole life trying to work it out and figure it out and understand it. It actually is pretty simple. It's like having a reading in that way allows you to understand what the truth of your blood is.
Yeah.
The truth. There's a peace in that. Then you can turn toward who you are as a soul, which has nothing to do with your blood. The blood just got you here. The blood was the vehicle that brought you in. You have a lineage of that, but the truth of who you are is that you are a soul.
So there's a difference between ancestral lineage and soul lineage, is what you're saying. Okay, so soul lineage differs because it's the journey your soul has gone through versus your physical incarnations and this whole bloodline that we have going on. Okay. All right. So they're two different things.
That's my understanding. That's what I've come to learn in my work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we could focus more on that soul work, is that what I'm hearing you say? That's where some real change comes.
Yeah. When someone wants to live their life in an authentic, like really authentic way, questions that, like, who am I? right? The soul lineage is where we need to focus. You're always going to have a quality of who you are from your ancestors. That is part of who you are, but it is a part of who you are. It isn't actually who you are. There's actually more burden from that lineage than from your soul lineage. And when you want to really understand who you are, what your purpose is, or how to remember your purpose, and living in a really deep, authentic way, the soul lineage is where that is at.
Okay. Because that can be very freeing to work there instead of just the generational traumas. I mean, that we all have in our
All of us
lineage. I
have
mean,
it.
there's you
All
guys,
of us.
everyone listening already knows this, especially by the age we're at now. But we don't get out of any lifetime unscathed here. And there's a lineage that we got from other people before us, and we're handing it down too.
We are.
We can do all the work in the world. We're still handing some stuff down, you guys, to the next generation. Hey, we don't want them to be bored, right? They need to do the work. I'm just kidding, you guys. Of course, they want to heal everybody, but I feel like I can only handle so much in one lifetime, you guys. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so we did a combination reading because, like I said, I did have people like great grandmothers advising through on some things. Also, we kind of realized that there was a little bit of a darkness still attached to me. And explain to everybody how you explain that to me, because we talked about my sacred space and how I've done the work to get things out of my sacred space, but something's still clinging on, right? I think I've let go, but the way you explain it is they haven't let go. And they being this darkness, what is this? What's
For
clinging
you
to me?
specifically, it was an energy that felt very oppressive. It was very heavy, like heavy on your back, heavy on your shoulder.
Yeah, because she even let me know where in my body I would feel some of this, because you even said it's attached more behind me on my left side or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know, like attached feels a little intrusive, where the language was for you more just outside perimeter. Like you've done a great job.
Yeah, getting him out of my sacred space.
You've done a great job at establishing some really good boundaries and some energetic boundaries, but it's like right on the perimeter of that, outside of that sacred space, where the voice or the echo of oppression and worthiness and judgment is still lingering. So in the language of the devoted soul method, which is an integration model we use for readings and for psychedelic therapy, is witnessing and honoring yourself. So you've done a lot of work over the years. You've witnessed yourself. You've witnessed the parts of yourself that were wounded. You've honored yourself along the way. You've let go. But letting go is only half of what we need to do. We also need to release, which means you've let go, but it hasn't let go of you.
And it being that darkness, which could be fear, inadequacy, whatever
that collective body that was hanging over you, that would send those little voices that kind of infiltrate your brain every once in a while.
Right, because we talked about that turns
think-
into rumination
what do you
sometimes for us.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Who are you to?
Who are you to do that?
Who are you to do that?
Yeah.
You're not really worthy of that. Those little pokes.
Yeah.
That whole body that was behind you, that's the voice of that body.
So the second half of the work, because like you said, I'd done enough work to kind of clear my sacred space, but then it's still clinging to, still there, too close. It's still too close is what I'm saying. So what is that second part of that work we all need to do to complete that process?
The release and surrender are the next steps. And we did that today. We did that for you today, where you were able to go into that imagery with me. That's the alchemy of the work.
Yes.
When you're getting soul work done like that, the alchemy inside of that session is, okay, I want you to visualize that too. You were seeing really similar things to what I was seeing.
Yes, as she was saying things, there were points where she was seeing something. I would see something visually and do something, and then it would come out of her mouth.
Yeah. Right. And that's the alchemy. You're shifting the energy. Energy is not created or destroyed. It is only transmutated and into a different form. So when we are inside of that space working with the psychic alchemy, we are taking, so for example, I could see it as a silhouette with tentacles. You were
Yes, and I saw that too. Yep.
And very slowly, it was starting to dissipate and disintegrate. But we both agreed that it's a pretty strong energy, and it's not just gonna
No, it
blow up
wasn't
into
gone. I couldn't get it. It's not gone today, you guys.
Correct.
I'm not done.
So the continued understanding of what that is and how to recognize it in your life. So as you're moving forward, say you're doing some work and you hear this little voice, who are you to do that?
Yep.
That's not good enough.
Then you can identify and be like, not today. Like
there's that echo.
Yep.
And then the surrender piece of that is to trust in a very deep way that you are making the shifts and changes. It's just taking time. It's just trusting in a massive way that you're doing the work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's vitally important because we dug in and we got to the point because it feels, I want you guys to understand that readings like this feel very therapeutic also. So it feels really like therapy, but with a spiritual twist to it. You're getting guidance from more than just the other human sitting across from you. Okay. You're pulling in guidance from things that are a lot smarter than we are.
Your higher self, your soul.
Yes, higher self, all of it. And that did come through for me because for a lot of it, Tammy's eyes are closed as she's focusing on it all. And so I found myself closing my eyes a lot of the time too, just because sometimes I do have a busy brain and I start looking at all the things on our shelves and I start wandering a little bit. Okay, which is good sometimes to ground yourself, to look at something, ground yourself back into it. So I end up closing my eyes too, so that I could feel meditated and I could visualize with you, right? I could see things. And that's where some of that came in, where I was seeing things. And then shortly after you would say it and I'd be like, oh, I just saw that. Like, that's exactly what I just did in my own mind. So we got to that point. She made me cry, you guys, like, which is good. I'm not saying that in a bad way, you guys, but that's how you know the work is working. When you can tap into the emotions that need to be tapped into, right? That's, if it's all fluffy foo-foo, you're not getting anywhere.
And I think that there's a potency to having yourself be witnessed in a way that is like really deep. Yeah. And the psychic healing work it's beyond, right? It's just very, very deep. And so you feel the tears come from being deeply witnessed.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. And it's
because it's healing to also feel those feelings, release them by mode of crying or whatever in front of someone else, in front of someone you just met, honestly, today, but also being held in that, knowing that that's safe, seeing that that's okay. I think that helps us open up in other instances in our life then too, and be okay with showing a little bit more emotion. If you're someone like me who suppresses emotion a bit, okay, it's nice when you're with someone who really is no skin in the game, right? If I don't ever want to see Tammy again, I don't have to. So it's a safe space that way. It's not like, and I think it can lead you to be more vulnerable than with the people who are in your lives on a daily basis, right? Because you feel seen, you feel safe now. You've said it once to a stranger and it didn't, go poorly. I don't know. I'm rambling on now, but I'm saying I think
it's a private experience, and it's very healing and cathartic for you just to be in that safe space, as you say.
It's almost like traditional therapy or anything else. You're in a safe space. You know that the things happening in this room aren't heading, the whole town's not hearing about the things I'm talking about. So it is just very therapeutic. And with this little spiritual twist, I think brings it deeper, you guys, because I've had many, I've talked on the show about many readings, meditations, different things since the spiritual journey that have been more therapeutic in one session than many trips to traditional therapy. And that's nothing against traditional therapy, you guys. You do you. But when you're ready to level up, this is a really, really important way to do it.
I agree. I think, and I don't do traditional therapy anymore. I utilize a therapist who is versed in the internal family systems.
Yes.
And just because I find that it's really potent. It's a really great way to just know yourself and continue to work with yourself. It becomes a lifestyle. But so therapy in and of itself is, I think, an excellent complement to anyone's journey.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But the IFS work is really excellent.
Yeah.
As a complement to the spiritual work.
Yes. Okay.
And vice versa.
So the energetic wellness session, just to clarify, that's more of the one where you're going to focus on those chakras a little bit more, or
focus on the chakras a little more, or someone's coming in with a very specific, very, very specific thing going on in their life.
Okay.
Maybe physical.
Because you can focus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had somebody come in just feeling really off, feeling physically not well. So I just started going inside of each of the chakras, and we were able to determine that she had Lyme's disease.
Oh, okay.
And at the time, she had no diagnosis. And of course, I'm like, well, we have to take this with a grain of salt. I was familiar with Lyme, so when I was looking at it, I understood what was happening. And sure enough, she went to the doctor a couple of weeks after, and
There
had
it
a
was.
positive result. And because of that, was able to get the help she needed and started feeling better literally immediately. So sometimes people come in with these very specific things.
Almost like when you had the tumor.
When I had the tumor.
Specific. Okay.
Yeah. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, because
Was it
in that
energetic?
case, you're not necessarily coming in to figure out what it is, how to heal it. You're coming in to figure out what's behind it, so that once that tumor is removed from your body or whatever you're doing with the tumor, you know what happened so that it doesn't happen again. Yeah, that energy doesn't sit stagnant in your body still. All right, so that's your energetic wellness session. And then the soul reading, what's the difference for that one then?
Well, I think the soul reading is more about people being called to understand who they are, people feeling stagnant in their life,
Looking for purpose. And that's where the ancestral lineage and soul lineage kind of thing comes in too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, to be honest, they intermingle a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes someone's going to come in for, say, a soul reading, and then all of a sudden we're just going to be like, looking at the chakras.
Because you're just going to go wherever you're guided to go, whatever that specific person needs. You don't have a list you go down. It's just like, okay, what do you need today?
Yeah. What's your intention for the session? And where is that information now coming from? Do we need to look at your body? Do we need to look at your mind? Do we need to look at your spirit? Where do we need to look at?
Yes. Okay. So you've got those 2 sessions. Then I saw the devoted soul coaching sessions.
My life story.
Tell me about this.
So the devoted soul method is, I haven't finished my book, but it is in book form. And I'm also putting a digital course together.
Because this is a 7-step program method.
Yep.
That you've come up with.
And it's just this beautiful navigation tool is the way that I describe it for people that want to live a soul-led life, people that want to live soulfully like yourself. I'll go through the steps. Observe and examine, explore and discover, witness and honor, which is a lot of what you're going through, release and surrender, co-create, and plant seeds. We tend, we nourish, and we celebrate, and we liberate. So we have these steps that we go through. So if you're familiar with the chakra system, I want to kind of implant it in that as well. You have a manifestation current and you have a liberation current. So you have things that come down, manifest through your body, and you have things that come up through the body and liberate. So each of these steps are not only steps in and of themselves, but they are incorporated into the chakra system as well. So the coaching is really about taking someone step by step through these steps. Where are you in your life? Like I said today, through the soul reading, we really spent a lot of time in witness and honor and release and surrender for you. And so that would then become an ongoing conversation over a minimum of 8 weeks, where we would start plugging in your experiences, your life experiences, your earthly life, and start creating the map for you of where you're going, where you've been, where you're headed, and how to make it all integrate for you.
Make it all happen.
Yeah.
And this sounds like a really good process. Is this kind of then what you're doing after you've done like a psilocybin journey? I mean, you're going to prep for it, you're going to do it. And then is this something that would be a part of the integration process after?
Yes. So it wasn't created as an integration tool, but it has become an integration tool and a preparation tool as well.
Okay.
Just because it helps compartmentalize things a little bit more, where you're at in your journey.
To be clear, you don't have to do any of these psilocybin journeys to do all these other experiences with you. That's just something that if it seems like it's going to fit in, that's something you'll do. But this isn't something she's pushing you guys. It's not like, oh God, I'm going to get a soul reading and she's going to tell me I need psilocybin. No,
No, I don't even talk about the medicine work really.
No, it's just if it feels,
Typically
right to
people
the
that
person.
come to us for medicine have come to the medicine themselves. They've found it.
Yeah, it's not you guys pushing this on anybody. No. This is more part of your spiritual soul's journey that this all integrates into. And if a journey like that with plant medicine seems like something you want to do, then you work towards that. If it's not, then don't even worry about it. You don't need to. There's a lot of different ways to go deeper if you want to go deeper. But this is one of them. It's not for everybody. So listen, it's fine. Everyone's doing their own thing. But I just like to present all these things to you guys. So if it's something that resonates with you and you're hearing, then you need to look more into it, right? And this isn't me. Listen, I'm not here giving healthcare advice or anything. You guys know that. You know my disclaimer. This is just getting you the information and then you decide. You talk to your healthcare providers, your family, your friends, your higher self, and you figure out what you should be doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when people are doing the work, they're doing the work. They're going to therapy. They're having some soul work done. They're doing energy work. They're doing all the things, and they can't quite seem to get where they want to be. They can't quite get the feeling. They can't quite embody what they know to be true for themselves. That is sometimes when the medicine really helps.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But a lot of times you can get to where you want to be. There's a lot of people living out there feeling very whole. I just happened to not be one of those people. I couldn't quite make everything fit, and I was doing all the things, right?
Same. Yep.
You get that. You've checked all the boxes. You're doing your supplement routine. You're clearing your parasites. You're getting the heavy metals out. Right?
Doing the cleanses, doing the meditation, my Reiki practice. I'm doing all the things. But yeah, sometimes you just feel like, what am I missing?
And then
I can't fully get this all together.
And then potentially, like we discussed, you may know something like your childhood trauma. You can know it in your mind. You can have worked it out in your mind, but your body's still holding on to
hanging on to it.
So then we start implementing some very specific therapies, like I mentioned, myofascial release, and then continuing that whole thing. And then maybe, a medicine session helps to fully reconcile it all. That's how the medicine work. It's woven in to all this other work.
Yep. This isn't something you just
bring a wholeness to your life.
Willy-nilly, I'm going to just do a little trip. No, that's not what we're talking about here today, you guys. And listen, if you're out there doing a bunch of trips for fun, I don't care. Like, go ahead. I'm not here to judge. But what I'm talking about today is when you're really wanting to get your spiritual journey going in the right direction and you're really feeling that pull. Like you said, I'm doing the things and I just can't make it all click together perfectly. Yeah, that's where this might really come in. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, I haven't done it yet, but if I do it, I'll let you know. I'll share with you my thoughts after I after I do it, because it sounds like it resonates with me. It does. And so we'll see. I always had her ayahuasca and I was like, I'm not going 5 countries away to throw up and shit all over the place with strangers. This is what's in my head. All right. I'm just in my head also. I'm just going to say it, you guys. Not that like spiritual elevation. I'm still thinking logistically. This does not sound like a plan. Okay. But closer to home, psilocybin sounds a little milder than this whole ayahuasca business. I also randomly ordered some mad honey.
You did.
Guys, sometimes I order stuff thinking this is the answer, and then I get scared to do it.
I'm curious for you to say more about that. The answer to what?
The answer to what? I don't know to what. I guess I order these things thinking that the answer to what everyone's saying about this integration, this final step, getting through these final blocks, or whatever's happening for me, right? So I think, like you said, well, I've been doing all the damn things, but there just feels like there's this one tiny barrier. And I don't want fear to stop me from doing it, but I'm fearful.
And isn't that the whole point of your podcast? It's halfway to dead. You're ready to live life really right. You want to turn toward living an excellent life. And sometimes you can't quantify what that means you just have to, you'll know it when you experience it, that you're living it right. You're settled in your body. You feel like if you died tomorrow, you will have lived fully. Can you say that for yourself right now?
So I feel, and this is maybe two different things. I feel ready to die. I'm not scared of death at all. All right. I don't fear death. I feel fine with it. Now, I guess the only thing I would wonder is, all right, so when I get to the other side, I'm doing like a life review or whatever we hear about. I worry about regret. I worry about, did I live it to the fullest? I worry about, could I have done more while I was here? Those are my fears. I don't fear death.
Right. But that is what I'm saying. You're turning toward now. I want to live the next half of my life in an thoughtful, purposeful, soul-driven life without the regret, without the shame, without all of the things that we've carried up until this point. That's why I love your podcast so much, and even the name of it in and of itself. When I read it, I was like, obviously, right? That for me, like that's the turning point. Like,
yeah,
I want to live this second half really right. I want to do it right, because when I get to that place and I'm looking back, I want to say, wow, I really,
I'm glad I made that change.
Yeah, I did it. And I love this life that I lived.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I want to die.
Yeah. And I did everything I could have done and wanted to do.
I loved that journey. You know, I think that's important. I think that's what the devoted soul is about too, is like, it's hopeful, because the journey isn't always a happy one. It's a lot of crap, and
I think the first half, we're just figuring shit out.
But actually what I think is true is that it takes a little too long. We really shouldn't be.
No. If you're
50.
If you're younger, guys, do the work now. If
I
you're
even started when I was 20.
See, that's true.
Right?
You did. I didn't, but you did. Yeah. So, but yeah, the earlier you can get a start on it, I think probably the better. Right? But sometimes you just can't. You're not in that place, because sometimes we live in survival mode for a long time. Something either triggers us to get out of survival mode, or we just decide it's time to stop. Whatever's going on, we all have our stuff. And I hope hearing me talk about my stuff and Tammy talk about hers and all that, just the main reason is not to be a big gossip sharing everybody's stories on here. Just don't feel alone. Whatever you have going on, you definitely aren't alone. We are all dealing with some shit, and that may be logistically a little different, but it feels the same in our bodies. So this is just another option, another tool for the tool chest, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Tammy, thank you so much. And you guys, stay tuned and listen, because I am going to drop a few clips with some insights that Tammy gave me during my session. Again, not all of it's not your business, but I'm just going to share some little excerpts so you can see what a reading like this is all about, that it's not scary. You're not whatever. You might cry. It's fine. But cry, laugh. It doesn't matter. Get some emotions out. It's all good. So after you're done listening to this, hop over and listen to a little bit of the bonus material. And if you so feel like Tammy resonates with you, I've got all her stuff down in the show notes, her links, how to get the heck a hold of her so you can get going on this too. And I'm lucky enough that she's not too far from me. That's why I was able to come record in her space here. So I don't know. I'll keep you posted, guys. I'm going to keep you posted on my journey, because like I say on the like we're in this together, guys. Hop in and ride shotgun with me, right? Yeah. It's a hell of a ride. Sometimes you guys just hop in. It's going to be good. Thank you, Tammy. Do you have any final inspirational words or anything you want to say to all my friends?
I would say your soul is rooting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Your soul is rooting for you. I really believe that. And if we can remember that and trust it, then our personality and who we think we are in this world gets a little softer, and we start co-creating with who we really are and living the life that we are meant to live.
Amen, sister.
Amen.
Right. We got this, guys. All right. See you next time.
Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now, I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out, because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much, and I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.